she had a very interesting personality. But I still really appreciate her fashion and what she contributed, so I love reading about her. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a video on my top 5 favorite fashion books. I love reading in general. I love reading about fashion especially, and I'm getting a lot more into it in the last 6 months or so. I've read a bunch of different books, and I've gotten a bunch from the library, or I've ordered some online. So I'm really excited to share the books that I think are some of the better ones and some really good ones. If you are interested also in learning more about fashion or whatever you if you just like to read in general and you want to try something new, then these would be great options. So let's just get started. So the first book, this is probably one of my all-time favorite fashion books, honestly. I love Chanel. That's one of my favorite designers inspired, that's one of my favorite designers. Not that I own anything by Chanel, but her brand is something that I really appreciate. Her classic brand, she completely changed the world of fashion and completely changed how women wore fashion, what kinds of fashion they wore, and her life was a little crazy, and she was maybe she had a very interesting personality. But I still really appreciate her fashion and what she contributed, so I love reading about her. And this book is really good. It's not super long, which is nice if you don't want to have a super in-depth, step-by-step look at her life. But if you want a general, chronological idea of how her life was, what she contributed, where she came from as a person, why she got into fashion, what kind of give you an idea of where her mind was at, and who her family was and stuff like that, then this would be a really good book to get. It's super cute. It's got really cute fashion pictures, some photography, some photographs of her, or her fashion. There's a lot of her fashion in here. It's overall just a super cute book, and I love the way it looks and the way what's inside of it, and it's just a great book. There are different books by Chanel, about Chanel's life. I've read at least one other book about her life. It's a lot longer and more in-depth, and this is more of an overview, but I still think this would be a great book, and it's definitely one of my favorites. The next book is The Little Dictionary of Fashion by Christian Dior, and oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, this is The Little Book of Chanel by Emma Baxter Wright. By the way, I'm legally blind, so if I look like I'm trying to read closely, it's because I don't really have some of my central vision, which is why I'm trying to read up close so I can get my peripheral vision to read it. I just thought I'd mention that in case you see me do that in any of my videos now or in the future. I can't always see what is going on or things like that. But this is The Little Dictionary of Fashion by Christian Dior, and it's overall a really cute book. It was written a long time ago. It has a step-by-step kind of guide of what Christian Dior thought of as fashionable, what his trends were kind of. I mean, he kind of defined an era of fashion, but and he was the exact opposite from what I've read in fashion style, from Chanel, where she was very classic, basic, live a classic wardrobe. That doesn't really make sense. But anyhow, she was she was very classic, and he was very much and she was very much tops and kind of have this boyish, comfortable, freeing style of fashion. He was very much into the fashion style that was more consistent with what trends had been in the past of long dresses and maybe corsets. I don't know about that, but just kind of things being really extravagant and more so in that's just kind of the range he was in compared to Chanel, who is much more of like pearls and blazer kind of girl, I guess. But overall, it's a really good guide. Maybe not for today's fashion. This could be like your fashion style now, so in that case it might give you some hints. It might, I think anything, honestly, even if you look at like fashion from a long time ago and like read books on it, it can be like a really good inspirational guide of things that you could do in your own wardrobe to incorporate that style or incorporate that thinking of what went with what colors to wear with what styles to wear, what kinds of accessories to wear with certain kinds of clothing. So if that's what you want, this would be a great book. It's also just interesting to see what kinds of fashion they wore a long time ago. I think this was written in, I don't know if it says, it was written quite a while ago, but overall this is a great book for that. Overall this is just a great book. The next book that I have is The Curated Closet by Anushka Ress. I know she lived in London for a while, and she talked about that in her book. Sorry if I mispronounced that name, I'm not really sure. But yeah, I don't know where much more about the author than that. I think maybe I skipped the foreword. There's probably something else around here that is like talks about this, and I had to have someone read this to me, by the way, because I can't really, and like all the other books, because I can't really, I like having physical books even though I've lost my vision somewhat, but I can't like see them, so I had to have someone read it to me. Just so you know, if you're wondering why I have the physical book if I can't see. So that's why I just still really like having books. I liked having books when I was younger before I started losing my vision, so I just like having the physical book. If I ever want to go back and look at it, I like having pictures too, like the cute pictures that you can't really get in like an audiobook. But yeah, this is kind of a guide of how to find your personal style based on your life. Like what you want in a wardrobe, what you need in a wardrobe, and it helps you really discover that. There are a lot of like quizzes in here to help you discover what kinds of clothing you want to wear and need to wear. There's a lot of different pictures. They don't really necessarily add a lot. Like the pictures are just kind of cute, kind of like there aren't a ton of pictures in here either. There is like kind of, what is this? A color palette section. So it talks about what kinds of colors you might kind of match together and wear in your kind of color scheme, which is really nice, I think. Overall, this is just a good book. Like it taught me a lot, like about what to really think about when choosing what you're gonna wear and what you're gonna buy, focusing on like how long you're gonna wear something versus how much you're paying, quality over quantity. It's kind of like how many times you're gonna wear something versus how much you pay. So if you don't spend a lot on something but you wear it a ton, that's okay. But if you spend something, and that's good as long as it goes in with your wardrobe and like it helps, something that you can wear a lot. But if something is you just buy and you wear it once and you never wear it again, that's not really getting like good wear out of your clothes. And this really helps you discover your and honestly it's just wasting money, and this helps just like for you to discover your fashion style and what kinds of pieces you should spend money on and have more quality, so that you don't just buy something once and never wear it again. So I think that's really good and really important now, especially with like sustainability, trying to wear our clothes longer, wear more, buy less, and wear clothes more often. I feel like that's really good, and just thinking deep down like what you really need and want in your wardrobe and how you want to look and stuff like that. So I think that's a good book for that. And then the last two books I don't actually have in person because they're from the library, and I had them at one point, and then I was gonna go back and maybe get them for this video, but then that just didn't end up happening, so I thought I would just mention them. And these books are a little different than the books I've already mentioned. So the first book is a history of costume and fashion. I'll link it down below. It's like a really big, thick book, and it goes through, I may have messed up the name a little bit, it's kind of a long name, but it goes through like the history of fashion from ancient Egypt, like through the Etruscans, like the Romans, the Greek, like ancient Greece. It goes through all of that, and then goes all the way up to like the 1900s, the 1920s, 30s, 40s. I can't remember exactly when it stopped, maybe in like the 80s or the 70s, I'm not really sure. But it's kind of mind-blowing, honestly, that somebody could write all of that out and have the time to like go through and find the history from all of these different places and the different kinds of accessories they wore, why they wore them, like what motivated them in their culture to kind of wear these kinds of clothes, like what honestly changed fashion for these people in different times. Like the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s is also really good. I mean, a lot of fashion nowadays is based off of fashion in the past too, which is a good reason to look back and see what it is and what it was and kind of why it was. So it's a really thick book, and it's a little bit expensive, honestly, to order. But my library had it. I'm sure other libraries will have it. So I would definitely check out your library, and I'm sure that your library would like have a lot of these books too, if you wanted to look at the library first, which I think could be really good. So yeah, I would just check out your local library first, and then if you need to, maybe you could get a used version of it, which would be not as expensive. But yeah, it's just, the reason it is so much is it's just a really thick book. I mean, it's thick. I mean, it's not like there's the writing is big. The font is big, I mean. The font is big, and there's a lot of pictures too, so that's also why, but it is a thick book. It took a lot of work and time and energy into writing that, which is why it's more expensive. But anyhow, alright, so the last book that I am going to be talking about is Careers in Focus Fashion. And this is a bit of an older book. I think the latest version may have been released, what was it? One of them was released in 2003, and I think the other one was maybe released in like a few years later, like maybe 2009. So it's a bit old. Maybe 2013 is what I'm thinking. So it's a bit old, regardless of the year, but the information in there is still really good. It goes around, so the book basically goes through the different types of careers you can have in fashion, from like fashion merchandising, fashion design, fashion management, being a fashion buyer, working in the textile industry, whatever it is. It goes from every single aspect of the fashion world and the jobs that are in it, and talks about them, how much you would make, what you would be doing, the skills you would need, the degrees you would need. And while fashion has probably changed a lot since, and I'm sure has changed a lot since that time it was written, that information still gives a really good idea and can really help you figure out, if you're thinking about going into fashion, what you might want to do. I know I read it for that reason, because I was trying to look and see what interests me, what doesn't interest me, what do I know for sure just reading this that I definitely don't want to do. And after that, even if you're not completely 100% sure what else you might want to do, maybe it helps narrow it down a lot, and you think, oh, I can focus on this and see what really interests me. So I think it's amazing for that. I think that those kinds of books, well, the information could be a little out of date as far as salary and stuff like that. I think overall it's still just as good for trying to figure out what you want and what the fashion world and fashion jobs really are. So yeah, those are my top 5 fashion books. I hope you like this video. I know that I really enjoyed reading this book and these books, and I hope you guys do too. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Turn on the post notifications if you want to be notified of when my next videos are going to be coming out. I have some really interesting stuff coming out in the next few weeks, and I hope you guys like it.